Hi everyone! Our very last oral quiz. You are responsible for preparing all 12 of these questions, 6 from chapter 6 and 6 from chapter 7. And I will only be asking you 3 of them. So starting with chapter 6, chapitre 6, numéro 1. Quel repas de la journée préférez-vous? Remember, in general, we want to look at a question word first, see what it means, then count how many verbs you have to figure out what tense you're in, and then reuse that same structure. So number 1, quel repas de la journée préférez-vous? Question word. Do I have one? Yes, I do. It's quel, which means which. And we need to know the vocabulary here for repas de la journée. So make sure that you know that. Once you figure that out, you look at how many verbs you have. You just have one, préféré. This is present tense, therefore. When I flip it around, of course, I'm going to watch out for my accents because préféré is a boot verb. Inside of the boot, my accents go towards each other. Outside of them, they go in the same direction. Numéro 2. Vous êtes au restaurant et quelqu'un paye votre repas. Que prenez-vous comme plat et dessert? So they give you a situation. Vous êtes au restaurant, quelqu'un paye votre repas. Somebody's paying for it. Vous, que prenez-vous comme plat et dessert? So question word is que. How many verbs do you have? You have one subject, one verb right here. So that's present tense. You want to reuse this verb. This is prendre. It is irregular, so watch out for the spelling and pronunciation. Comme plat et dessert, that's going to be your vocabulary that you're filling in. Numéro 3. Vous êtes au restaurant et quelqu'un paye votre repas. So exact same situation. Somebody's paying for your meal. Que buvez-vous? So this time, same question but different verb. Still only one verb, present tense. Que buvez-vous? Numéro 4. Combien de viande, légumes frais, café prenez-vous dans une semaine? Soyez général. Utilisez des expressions de quantité. Okay, so the first one, do you have a question word? Yes, you do. It's combien de, which means how many. I will only ask either viande or légumes frais or café. I will not ask you all 3. You need to be prepared to answer any of them, but you need to listen closely to the question to know which one I have asked and then appropriately respond. How many verbs do you have? We have 1. Here's your subject. Here's the verb. So that's also present tense. And then you have to answer with an expression of quantity. That's referring to words like beaucoup de, assez de, un peu de, all of these expressions of quantities. And we remember from articles that all of our expressions of quantity use de. Numéro 5. 4 étudiants parlent très fort dans la bibliothèque et vous étudiez. Donnez un ordre poli à 6 personnes. Utilisez l'impératif. So you're given a situation. 4 students are talking really loudly in a library and you're studying. You need to give an imperative, which is a command form, and you need to be polite. So first of all, you want to think about who you're addressing. How many people? Remember that the imperative can only be done with tu, nous, or with vous. Pick the appropriate subject depending on who you're talking to. Then think of what would you want to say to these people. There's multiple options here. You want to give them a command form. So what you'll do is you'll start off with your sentence with either whatever you're choosing, tu, nous, or vous, whichever is the appropriate one. There is a right answer and a wrong answer. Then you'll fill out the rest of the sentence, usually with like a verb, maybe some other stuff in it. Then the imperative is whack, whack, wha-bam. Okay? Whack, whack, wha-bam, remember, is taking off the subject. You're still left with the verb. The wha-bam is an exclamation point. You may have that's taking off the S. That looks like subject, but it's the letter S, okay? From a to form of an ER verb. Okay? And you need to make sure that you're being polite, which is to say, please say please and thank you. Quelle heure est-il exactement? Question word, quelle heure? Which hour? Est-il exactement? One verb right here, est. You turn this around, est-il becomes il est, and you give me the exact time, which means military time. So give me exact numbers, so don't forget to review your numbers. Remember, the way that you answer in a full sentence for time is il est, which is that inversion of this, and then you get an hour, whatever number of hours, and then the word heure, and then you may have the number of minutes there. If it's 0 minutes, you don't have to say anything. Chapitre 7. Nommez un magasin spécialisé français. Que vend-il? All right, so name a specialized store. This is referring to the boulangerie, pâtisserie, poissonnerie, crèmerie, charcuterie, etc. So the food stores. Que vend-il? So what? Que. And then vend-il, you just turn this around. You see this inversion here. Turn it around and say what it is that they sell. Numéro 2. Quelle est la date aujourd'hui avec l'année? We've already had this question before. Remember that you need to start in a full sentence, so you need subject and verb. All dates will always start with c'est le. Then you have the day of the week, the number, the month, and then the year, which is another number. Okay, so I like to remember it as being word, number as the order. Choisissez et comparez des images. I will hold up images from our vocabulary from recent. So like I might hold up a banana and an apple, or a piece of beef and a piece of fish, something like that. And I will ask you, quel blank préférez-vous? Which is which. And I will make sure, of course, that my quel, you won't hear the difference, but I know that it will be the right quel for whatever category I choose here. So I might say fruit, or in the other example, I said viande, but it could be anything. I could pick any sort of category. So you need to know your categories, if they're masculine or feminine or singular or plural, because then you're going to reuse that to answer with ce, cet, cet, say. So let's say that I held up an apple and a banana. And I said, quel fruit préférez-vous? You would answer, uninvert this part, je préfère, watch the accents going towards each other, and silent E, je préfère. And I don't want you to tell me the banana or the apple. What I'm imagining is that you're going to be pointing to one with your finger. That's a hand. Okay? And you're saying which fruit. You reuse the same word that I have used here. In the case of fruit, that's masculine singular, so I would say, you should say ce. Je préfère ce fruit. Do not say je préfère cette pomme. I'm looking for you guys to reuse the category. Numéro 4. Ce soir, qu'est-ce que vous voulez faire, mais qu'est-ce que vous devez faire à la place? Que is what? And you have two verbs per subject here. You see the vous, there's two verbs. We've got voulez plus an infinitive faire, and devez plus the infinitive faire. You need to reuse that structure to tell me what you want to do, but what you have to do instead. Numéro 5. Quand avez-vous parlé à votre meilleur ami la dernière fois? Question word is quand. Count how many verbs you have. You have one verb here and one verb here. Identify what tense that is. I have two verbs. The first one is avoir, and the second one has this little accent on the end, which means it's a past participle. This number 5 is passé composé. So you must use the passé composé in your answer. Don't forget that your votre will change to the correct possessive adjective to say my best friend. The pronunciation on this word is kind of tough, so I'm going to say meilleur. Meilleur. And I should have had an accent, in parentheses there in case your best friend is a female, then you'd make it agree. Numéro 6. Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait hier soir? Question word is que. How many verbs you have? One verb here, one verb here. That's two verbs. You have avoir plus, in this case, an irregular past participle. Reuse then the passé composé. It is important for not only number 4 and 5. You see the verb faire in these, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to use a faire. It's possible, but you may just answer the question as like, oh, I took a trip, or I ate, or I finished my homework. You don't need to have faire in addition. So if you're answering with a faire expression, it might be like, j'ai fait mes devoirs. Well, to do my homework is faire les devoirs, so that makes sense. But if you studied, I don't want you to use J'ai fait étudier. No, that's not necessary. You only need 2 verbs. You take out fait, you only use the past participle. J'ai étudié. So don't go overboard with faire. Okay? Very best of luck, you guys. I will talk to you soon.